Homicide detectives in DeKalb County, Georgia need your help.
No one saw or heard anything.
Two grieving families need closure.
Why?
Can a fresh look at two eerily similar cold cases breathe new life into the investigations? And is the key to solving at least one of those murders hidden in this recording of the victim's last moments alive?
Why are you doing this?
Sitting down for TV interviews isn't the kind of thing police in Georgia's fourth most crowded county normally have time to do.
We worked about 3 a.m. This morning. Then we had another homicide at 8 a.m. This morning. It can be very hectic there sometimes.
But Lieutenant Rod Bryant from the DeKalb County Homicide Unit is taking time out today to talk about two cases he says need to be solved. The first started years ago with a 911 call from a hysterical young woman.
It was a pretty terrible call.
The girl making the call hadn't heard from her sister in 2 days and finally decided to go to her house and let herself in.
She went in location. She called for her sister, did not receive an answer. She went upstairs and checked and saw her sister in the bedroom, lying on the floor in a puddle of blood. And she called 911 afterwards.
When detectives arrive, they find the sister in shock. And 27-year-old Tamekia Taylor lying dead on her bedroom floor, stabbed 57 times.
She was nude. There was blood smeared all over the carpet. There was blood on the walls. And there was blood leading to the bathroom. It's a pretty bad scene.
Tamekia's sister tells detectives about the last time they spoke, and the investigation begins.
Our last conversation was 2 days before she was found by her sister. So we got to go back 2 days of this young lady's life and try to find out what happened to her.
Even further back than that, if you ask Tamekia's father Matthew and his wife Gwendolyn.
Tamekia was always an ambitious little girl. Getting a B in school was like getting a D in school to her, because she always wanted to make all A's.
It was a drive to succeed that followed Tamekia into adulthood, where at just 27 years old, she was working as a highly respected loan officer for a major financial firm, living in a house she bought for herself.
I learned that she made more money than me. That made me upset. But nah, she did very well for herself, very well.
Tamekia's friend and co-worker Rochelle Howard says there was no secret to Tamekia's success.
Oh my God, she just, a lot of energy. She would come in and she'd say, "Hi, I'm Tamekia Taylor." And she would stick her hand out and just go at it. She was not afraid of anybody, just whatever she needed to do to get the job done.
And getting the job done in a competitive market in and around Atlanta often included going to networking parties and handing out business cards. At least that was the plan that Thursday night in December when Rochelle last talked to her friend.
We talked around 5. She was getting ready to go to the party. She's wearing this red dress. She was all excited about attending the party, and she was going to call me later on. And I never heard from her again. She just was gone.
Police believe sometime shortly after Tamekia hung up the phone with Rochelle, she either opened her door to someone she knew or was surprised by an intruder already inside.
There was no forced entry, no evidence of any forced entry. It looked like the victim possibly just arrived home. Nothing out of the ordinary was observed downstairs.
However, the killer made his way in. The evidence shows Tamekia was forced into her upstairs bedroom where she was stripped of her clothes, sexually assaulted, and then stabbed almost one time for every second in a minute.
It's very savage, very violent type of death.
Tamekia's father will never forget receiving the news.
I was sitting at home and got a call from my other daughter, the one that found her, and told me what happened. And I just dropped everything. She was too young to be taken away. No parent should outlive their children.
Nor should any parent have to see their child like Matthew did that day.
And I just saw them come out with her in the bag, and that just really hurt me to my heart.
For the family, it's a scene that makes no sense for a lot of reasons.
The fact that someone did hurt her was such a shock to us because she was such a loving, kind person. So it never dawned on us that anyone would ever want to hurt her.
But almost immediately,
I just saw a body being rolled over.
detectives seemed well on their way to identifying a suspect.
There were fingerprints found at the location. We also found bloody footprints.
And on top of all that, a male's DNA recovered from the victim's body. While investigators wait for the results to come back on that DNA, they work on building a profile of the killer based on the nature of the crime and some knife wounds that pierced Tameka's body.
The person was very angry. I think it was personal. I think that person possibly rejected by Miss Taylor. Tameka, she was about 5'10" to 5'11". So this person was very physically strong.
We strongly feel that it was somebody that she knew, that she let in, that she was comfortable enough to at least open the door.
Like maybe an ex-boyfriend, detectives quickly identify anyone Tameka may have been dating. And that included at least 2 men who lived not far from her house, one of whom made it clear he was angry Tameka didn't want to be more than just friends. But police questioned both men along with several others, took DNA from everyone. The results?
Their DNA did not match the evidence that we had.
In fact, when the DNA from the crime scene was analyzed and returned from the lab, it was a strand that led nowhere.
That DNA has not been compared to anyone at this time.
Detectives are at a loss, Tameka's own family completely stumped. Then just weeks after the murder of Tameka Taylor, only 6 miles away, it happens again. Another young woman is stabbed multiple times in her home, and this time, detectives have one chilling piece of evidence. The killer's own voice recorded by the victim's cell phone. Coming up,
No, I don't think it's a game.
a desperate voicemail captures a woman's final words, but can it lead to her killer?
I do believe that male voice is the person that killed her. That suspect was basically telling her to be still, to quit playing, what he's about to do to her. He's about to sexually assault her.
Hey,